Hello everyone, this is Tribecast Tre and my name is Marina. We continue with Tribecast Summer Tour and this is Seinäjoki episode. To cut the long story short, let me invite you to Seinäjoki where you'll hear James McDade, Nora Yliviikari and Kyle Mulholland. When I told my colleagues that I'm going to Seinäjoki, I was told that actually this is the part of Finland that is quite famous for startups and businesses coming out from here and growing here. So I decided to go and check whether it's true and what kind of startup ecosystem do they have here. And my first guest for this week is Kyle. Hello, and please tell our listeners a few things about yourself.
Sure. Hey, I'm Kyle Mulholland, originally from New Zealand, born and raised in Australia, and been living in Finland for about 6 years now. And I would say for my background, it's pretty varied. In a way, I studied engineering. Quite soon found that it wasn't quite the area for me and wanted to push more into the field of health. So I also have a background in personal training and then more recently in physiotherapy. And I've just recently completed my master's studies in welfare technology in the University of Applied Sciences in Pori. So I guess for me, with my background, it's quite diverse and I really want to find new ways that I can bring technology and health together in an industry that can be sometimes quite slow to adopt change.
Right, and I should tell you that when I was asking my Seinäjoki contacts about which kind of startups do they have here and whom should I talk to, you and your company were the first name on the list, or actually on 2 lists. So you guys are quite famous here, and let's tell our listeners in the entire Finland about you. What do you actually do?
Yeah, that's great to hear that people are talking about us because I think it's something that needs to be talked about a lot. So our company is called Onnihabit and we're looking to provide a digital application called Onniway to help empower children from a holistic perspective in the classroom. So our general idea is that, health has many facets to it. So we want to create a tool that provides small pieces of education and then the practical application of that education each day that students can do in the classroom with their teacher. The app itself is aimed at teachers, and every day a new micro-action, is what we call it, is provided to the teacher that can be performed with the class. And they take maybe 1 to 3 minutes and can be of one of several areas. So for us, we see 4 key categories, and they are mental health, social and relationships, physical activity, and nutrition. So covering quite a holistic point of view.
Right. Now I have so many questions about the details, but let's start with a very basic one. What's the stage of your startup?
Yeah, so we've been working for just over a year now. To begin with, we wanted to prove out the concept. So we were fortunate enough to find another application that we could use as a piloting tool. And we tested that across 5 countries in the beginning in primary schools and had really great feedback and results. So now we're just currently in the process of finalizing our own application, our minimum viable product, to begin sales.
Okay, that sounds like you could have used one of our accelerators for early stage, or not that early stage startups that we have in Tribe Tampere community, but probably we'll talk about that a bit off the record. For now, do you remember how did you come up with the idea?
Yeah, so Seinäjoki has had a lot of success from this point of view. They have a program that's called the Healthy Kids of Seinäjoki, and they actually have a conference for the last few years now here in Seinäjoki on the subject. And so I would say that's been our major source of inspiration. They had a lot of success, especially from a reducing obesity levels point of view. And that really was our major inspiration that led to the conceptualization of our digital tool. So we wanted to take that framework and then create a digital tool that we could really send to the masses, allow us to really, affect on a lot of people.
And could you tell a few things about the team you're working with?
Yeah.
Because for me, what you're doing sounds like a combination of, it's a med tech, so probably you need people with medical education and IT guys and some complicated stuff I know nothing about.
Yeah, so we have quite a small team to begin with. I guess as with any startup, it's about balance of, the real work life and then trying to make it work with the startup that we think has a lot of possibility. So we have 3 to 4 members in our team. One of our initial investors is Into Seinäjoki. So we have personnel from there as well that, offering it was their sort of idea to begin with, and then we've begun the startup in collaboration with them. And then with the rest of our team, we obviously have myself operating as the managing director. So when you say coming from a health or medical background and an IT, I guess I kind of fall under both categories. And then we also have Suvi, who is working as our CFO and has a background with software development in the past. And then also we have Emmy, who is a physiotherapist and yoga instructor and has a business to that end here in Seinäjoki as well. So we have, quite a range from both the software and IT side of things, and then also from the health, but not just physical health, but a holistic health perspective as well.
Can I ask a bit off-bit question? What do you understand of holistic health perspective?
Yeah, I think it's often very easy for people to think that the human body is a machine. And I think that's unfortunately a way that when we think about modern medicine, that's the kind of way that people perceive the human body. But there's so much more to it when it comes to other factors such as stress, for example, sleep. So we need to look at things outside of the physical and biological aspects of the body. And so for me, that's where I think the holistic perspective is really important. We look around at today's population and we're becoming more and more overweight. There's increasing levels of behavioural challenges and mental challenges. So when we look at holistic health, we need to look at the person as a whole. So thinking of things like how we interact with others and how we talk to ourselves, how we manage stress, how we sleep. There's so many different possibilities outside of just the medical, physical body and what we put into our system as well.
I love these kind of ideas when you actually change the world while earning some money. Have you guys participated in any kind of big networking projects or startup festivals?
Not as yet. That's our intention in the future. So at the moment, we've just been trying to prove out the concept initially. And then based on that, we wanted to have our own product, of course, next because, well, you can't have a company without a saleable product. But yeah, our intention is that next. So we're currently looking for investors. And then from there, we're looking to really expand.
Right. Then one of the ways for you to find an investor that I would recommend is joining a Stream Startup Festival in October, which is targeted at early stage startups. Probably would be interesting. 3rd of October.
Yeah, very much so. I think Finland's really great in that respect. There's so many, great possibilities when it comes to startups.
Okay, could you open up in that sense? Because this is one of my favorite questions, like Finnish startup ecosystem, especially for non-Finn.
Yeah, well, I guess, the system is very different from what I'm exposed to in Australia. But yeah, from everything I've seen, there seems to be quite a range depending on your areas. And I know there's some from either be it a health background, and then there's quite many coming through now, which I think where we kind of fall into a little more is from an education point of view. So from what I've seen, there's huge possibilities when it comes to the Finnish education system. Well, for example, my mother, she works in a daycare, päiväkoti, and even she is very aware of the strength and the reputation of the Finnish education system. And I think, when it comes to startups, there's now a lot more opportunities of how we bring and capture that reputation from a Finnish perspective and then export it globally. So I think, it's a really interesting area and there's a lot of possibilities from what I've seen.
Have you done any kind of business back home in Australia?
Yeah, quite minor, I would say. So I worked with a colleague when I was doing engineering to develop a health promotion application, I would call it. Just quite a simple one based around physical activity.
Like a tracker?
More of like a workout programmer in a way. So using my personal training background, but it was more of a education experience than a viable business option, I would say.
Okay, then would you generally recommend an international startup entrepreneur to start up in Finland nowadays?
Yeah, definitely. I think for myself as a foreigner coming to Finland, it was quite challenging initially to find work. And I think that if you have the right idea and perhaps the right education background as well, there's a lot of great ways that whether it's you as yourself as a business or as a team, you can, really get your foot off the ground. Initially, there's a lot of great possibilities with like the startup money that's offered and the guidance that goes with it. So yeah, I would definitely recommend it because coming as well from a health background, there's not such a huge population here, but there's a lot of healthcare professionals. So I think there's quite a saturation of professionals versus the amount of employment opportunities that exist, especially when I think about physiotherapy. So, if you can be creative and have an idea of how you can bring your skill set in a unique way, then why not try to have your own business?
And what's the biggest challenge for an early stage startup in your understanding?
I think probably time is the biggest challenge, because as an early startup, unless you're fortunate enough to have significant amount of funding that you can dedicate yourself full time to that opportunity, you really have to find the balance between work life and startup life. And I think that's something that takes time to learn where to find that balance without pushing yourself beyond the boundaries of what is healthy. So yeah, I'd say probably time management and how you find that balance is probably the biggest challenge to start with.
I think I ran out of questions. Thank you very much for this interview, Kyle. And we're moving further, and now we're gonna record an interview with our partners from SeiES. But hey, thank you very much for this interview. There was something new and interesting to me as well. And for the record, I officially invite you to Stream Startup Festival. I hope there will be a good network in place for you.
Cheers. That sounds great.
And now let's talk to people from Seinäjoki ES. Hello, James. Hello, Nora.
Hello.
Hello.
Please introduce yourself to our listeners.
Ladies first. Hello, my name is Nora Yliviikari and I'm a physiotherapy student in SEAM, so it's Seinäjoki University of Applied Sciences, and I'm also the chairperson of SeiES.
Hi, I'm James McDade. I'm from New Zealand. I'm a final semester international business student from SAMAC and also the board secretary of SeiES and marketing manager as well, and the contact manager for SeiES. So many hats on my shoulder, and yeah, thank you for having us.
I have already had Juha from Tampere ES on Tribecast a few episodes ago, so I kind of have the understanding of what ES is about. However, what's your perspective on what do you do?
So SeiES is basically Seinäjoki Entrepreneurship Society, a mouthful for most people around here, is basically built upon setting the students' mind around entrepreneurial skills and trying to encourage them into entrepreneurship. And if they don't follow their job aspirations into entrepreneurship, at least try and understand the perspective of maybe the boss that they might be working for.
Yeah, and it's also like, I would like to use word networking space where students can find a new, someone might be your cooperation partner in the future, but the networking might be the biggest thing what we are doing, because we have those events and monthly member meetings where our members can come together and get to know each other. So that's also the basic stuff what we do.
Right, since you mentioned it, let's talk about networking. What events have you visited recently? I mean, after the Startup World Cup.
After the Startup World Cup, no, there wasn't.
There wasn't.
There was the American Embassy tour to catch up with basically the other ESs around the country, which was a highlight that I missed.
Yeah, I was there. The US Embassy visited. It's the kind of like a yearly thing what happened, and people around the Finland, the ES people, come together and we have a nice afternoon in the US Embassy. They tell about themselves and then we have a networking chat after that. And then, of course, we continue in the park together.
Okay, then tell me about the common projects.
There's plenty of stuff coming up in the autumn. James have a long list, but for example, the closest one is the Harvest in Vaasa, and we will go there.
I'd like to add a correction to that one. Sorry, Nora.
Okay.
But you might have heard of Junction from Alta ES. They're running Tech Race. We're hopefully doing a cooperation with Tech Race, and they're going to be up here at the start of September, I should say, which is the next thing for us. We basically operate during the semesters. So outside of a semester, so summer periods, it's quite quiet for us around here. Many people disappear because it's summer. A lot of students go home. It's quiet here until September. So Tech Race. Then we definitely want to go out to Harvest, which is going to be at VES organised event out in Vaasa. They've always had great events out there. We enjoy it, and we always try and encourage students to come from Seinäjoki to go visit any harvest event.
So if Seinäjoki University of Applied Sciences students are listening to us, we would definitely recommend them to go to Harvest, especially if they're business students or students